Good evening, Razorback fans. Want to welcome you to the Thursday episode of the Hawg Talk podcast, presented to you by Vision Exteriors. Coming to you live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I'm Port Hayes. Alongside me, as always, is Adam Hawg. And on tonight's show, we're going to bring you a little special episode, different type. We're going to have a little round table tonight. I brought in Marcus Carlton of Inside the Hog Pen alongside Adam because, you know, Adam, we always talk about this thing with the Arkansas Razorbacks and the, program in the state. And last week I had to take a step back and instead of just giving you a little 5-minute segment, we're like, Adam, how are you feeling today? We're going to give both of y'all a whole episode to really talk about how important things are right now with the state of Arkansas, with NIL, the transfer portal, moving forward, because as long as I remember, even though born and raised, Arkansas isn't my true allegiance, so I have different feelings and passion towards the Razorbacks as you two do. So I really want to deep dive and really get thoughts and where you want to see this program moving forward and what's the potential. Where could Arkansas really truly get with the new era of college football playoff 12, possibly 16, and you're seeing teams like Indiana, Arizona State, Vandy, people that are in the conversation that 5 years ago you never would have thought. So, Marcus, first of all, thank you so much for joining in, and I'm glad you could be a part of this tonight.
Hey, I appreciate the invitation. I watch you guys all the time, so this is going to be fun.
And Adam, we'll just jump right into it. Again, like I said, when we talk about the Razorbacks, and we do this 2 times a week, and it's easy to, when you have a duty to come on here as a podcaster and talk about and really give information out to the fans, to the listeners. But really tonight is just really true feelings, what you really feel as a Razorback fan right now. That's where I really want to start the questioning off, Adam, and then go to Marcus. Where is your thoughts at where Arkansas as a football program stands right now?
I mean, you get 2018, 2019 vibes. So it's one of those that I tried to fight for quite a while. I mean, I even pushed back on you and others when you're just like, hey, we're right back in the dumpster fire that we were in during the Morris era. And, while I agree with part of that sentiment, I'm still in this boat of not being the laughing stock of the nation that we were back then. So it's one of those that feels like that, especially when you're only sitting at 2 wins and you could be looking at a 2-10 season. It's a tough spot to be in. There's a lot of similarities to how we felt 7 years ago. And at the same time, it's one of those things that you feel a little bit like there's nothing necessarily on the horizon. We're going to be let down. And, it's hard to get your hopes up after you get your hopes up time and time again for, just complete and utter failure. I look at where we stand right now, and I know there's a lot that'll kind of a lot of nonsense coming out today. People, verify your Twitter sources before you start posting about coaches. Yeah. Make sure it's not a troll account. But it's one of those, there's going to be more news coming out over the coming weeks of the who's and the what's. I think that this is kind of the final straw, and this has to be the home run hire, or you just need to give up on trying to be a football school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like you're in my head with that, because I was talking to someone earlier today, and I made the comment. I was like, I am terrified about the possibility of how this hire could go south and the repercussions of it if it does, because I made the statement, and I might be overplaying it a little bit, but I feel like this is probably going to be the most important football coach hire in my lifetime. I'm 47, about to be 48 years old, and I feel like that this is that point where the road is going to go one of 2 ways, and you hope that it's going to go the correct way. But guys, in all honesty, if I could put a negative number out there that would represent the amount of trust I have in the decision makers right now, that's where I'm at. I don't trust them to make the right decision when it comes to the hire.
Yeah. And look, you were talking about, you're 47, I'm 43. You had the Jack Crow years.
Oh God.
When you got beat by the Citadel.
Yeah.
Then you had Danny Ford come in.
And he caught lightning in a bottle that one year, 95. Yep. They beat Alabama for the first time ever, go to Atlanta, get absolutely destroyed by Florida, but they got to Atlanta. And so you're thinking, okay, maybe things are going to turn. And then, the next 2 years, it just didn't work out.
Yeah. And you go back to that. I mean, really, if you want to see anything that's close to it, you have to go back to the first couple of years they were in the SEC.
Yes.
But that's 95, because then you have Houston Nutt come in 98, 9 wins, 8 wins, 6 wins, 7, 9. Yeah. Then he went 5-4, but then he turns around, 10 wins, 8 wins. Yeah. Then you go right into Bobby Petrino. And then it seems like after that, since 2012, you've really just dug yourself a hole that you can't get out. And Adam, I wanted to go back to your comment, because you're talking about, the pushback, and you're talking about the laughing stock. I think the reason is, outside looking in, is because the first time it was like, yeah, they're the laughing stock. Now they feel sorry for Arkansas.
Yeah.
You see the popularity in basketball and baseball, and it seems like the baseball College World Series, Oregon State, LSU, it's like the more eyes that get on this program, it's like they see the pain we go through, and it's beyond laughing at Arkansas now. They feel sorry for Arkansas now. That's just how I'm looking at that. So, and when I said you're back in a spot of Chad Morris, you're sitting winless in the SEC.
Yep.
You don't know who is the AD going to be here next year. Who's going to be your coach? They tried to backdoor this thing in Bobby Petrino to bring him the OC and the head coach to keep Hunter Yurachek's job. That was my opinion on it, because you go back. What is strike fans with Arkansas? Nostalgia. Because again, we go back. It goes back 15 years to where you had success. ESPN Arkansas plays highlight clips of Darren McFadden and Matt Jones.
Yeah.
There's no recency bias outside of basketball and baseball. So that's all there is. So it's just, now you're numb. It's not we're all going to laugh at you anymore by Adam Sandler. It's you're numb.
But to combat that a little bit is, people feel sorry for us, or they're used to seeing us this way. But at the same time, I mean, you're going toe to toe week in and week out currently. You're not getting drugged through the mud like we were in 2018 and 2019. You're not losing to Western Kentucky. You're going toe to toe with the team that's now ranked number 3 in the nation. Petrino's first game, quite frankly, you should have beat Tennessee at Tennessee. I mean, you were down 17 points, but to come back in the fourth, it's one of those things that you're fighting. This team hasn't given up at all. We saw the give up during Chad Morris. We saw the give up. What was it? 2 seasons ago, with Sam Pittman, the Mississippi State or Auburn game, one of those games. So I can see kind of both sides to it there. It's just I feel like that, and there is a bit of numbness there, and it's one of those things with basketball being my go-to sport. Having played in high school and my entire life before that, it's one of those things like I'll sit and watch 4 or 5 NBA games a week. I don't care who's playing. I've gotten to the point with football, if it's not Arkansas, if it's not the Ravens, unfortunately with the season the way it's gone, I don't care. Otherwise, I watch the headlines, I check the scores, I don't care, to be quite frank. And I think a lot of that is honestly a lot to do with how Arkansas football has been for so long. I'm just to this. It's hard for me to see this program, this athletic department with Hunter Yurachek at the helm to make the right coaching decision.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, he has not made it.
Yeah, I agree completely on that. I'm not a Hunter Yurachek fan by any means. I think to me, when the day that he made his comments about how much he despised NIL at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, for me, I was almost done with him before that.
Mhm.
But at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm done. This dude needs to go, because it's one thing if he's saying this privately to his staff in his office, or even if he and Pittman were discussing it, but to go to that setting and make that comment publicly for it to blow up, what do you think the other coaches in the SEC have done with that? I guarantee you that Lane Kiffin, Keith Carter, the guy that's about to be fired at LSU, the AD there, I guarantee you those guys have that clip on their phone. And when it goes to, when the football coaches go to recruit, that's being played.
Mm-hmm.
But they blame us. They blame us for
and then he turns around and he
naysayers.
blames the fans, because we're all so negative and everything. Well, why in the world do you think we're so negative? Because you're out there making idiotic statements like, being an AD in the NIL era is terrible. Okay, well, then go find yourself something else to do. This is the way the game is. Get on board or get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm dealing with the same thing with my school. I have a head coach that you win 2 national championships. You think you're on top of the world, and you're dealing with the same thing. But it's funny, you're talking about NIL transfer portal, but who would have ever thought that Hunter Yurachek's kryptonite would be the Little Rock Touchdown Club? And this is nothing that's on the spot. This is something that you have months to prepare for, a year. Every year you're going to be doing this. You've got Baz on your side handing you the questions in the microphone. You still screw it up.
It's as soft toss gets. I mean,
but you see that Baz is turning, and this is where you're talking about you're not just losing the common fan. When he let Kevin Trainer go, whether you like him or not, that pissed him off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like you want the fans to be loyal. You want the fans to give, but you let go of one of the freaking heartbeats of your program and him. But then, me and Adams discussed this many a times. You talk about, this is what he's 0 for 3 in the last Little Rock Touchdown Clubs. His comments this year. And then, the comments that you made about and not embracing it. And then he follows it up and says, Walmart and Tyson aren't here to save your football program. Then guess what? Who's on his football stadium?
Yeah.
He wants all that for himself. And he is just proving that, one, either he don't care about football. And that's why I posed the question. I guess we can start there is let's say Cal wins 2 national championships, 2 national championships here in basketball. Would you stop really kind of even worrying about this football debacle if you know that you're content that you're going to be a national championship program in basketball?
You want me to start?
Yes.
Go for it.
Hell yes. I'm a basketball guy first anyway. I grew up on Todd Day, Lee Mayberry, Oliver Miller, those guys. So that was my exposure to Razorback basketball and what hooked me. And if you look during that time, football was pretty pitiful during that time. And what put Arkansas on the map was basketball. And I would take that in a heartbeat. I would take it with just Final Four appearances. The natty is just the icing on the cake, but multiple Final Four appearances again. Absolutely. I would look my Saturday mornings. I would get up, I would watch game day. I would try to watch a Razorback game, but if we're back in that situation, then it's just a way to pass the time until basketball gets here.
And it's one of those things that kind of like with Marcus's sentiment, basketball is my sport. But over the past several years, in the sports world, I want to be selfish. So no,
that's fair.
I want Coach Cal to win a couple national championships here. I would like Dave Van Horn to get one before he retires.
Yep.
I would love to have the football program righted. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. So it's one of those that at this point, and honestly, I feel like me personally, I can't speak for everybody else. But we already do it a lot now on our respective shows, just in other conversations, that we see the success in other sports. And it pisses us off the fact that we can't have that in football.
Mhm.
So I think it's one of those that if Cal comes in and gets a national title, you're going to have a lot of fans that are happy, but you're also going to have a lot of fans that basically sit there and say, see, we went and paid for a coach, which is
Yeah.
what everybody has been harping on for the last since NIL transfer portal. This is what happened. You went and got your coach. You've now had the benefits from it. You've now set this program up for after he leaves, because one thing Arkansas did have going for it is having a national championship previously in basketball, being consistent in the world of basketball. So I think that helps after Coach Calipari retires, leaves, whatever happens. It's one of those that I think you had a lot of fans that would just sit there and be like, we've done it here. Why aren't we doing it here? Because we've all been calling for the last, I don't know how long, like, hey, we put up or shut up when it comes to money.
Yeah. And I agree, because it was almost like a trick question, because guys, this is the SEC.
Yeah.
You could say, yeah, we're content, but all right, how many people in the Tennessee Volunteer fan group are truly hanging on that baseball national championship? How many South Carolina fans are hanging on their baseball national championship, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, outside of South Carolina, and there too, because they're in a similar situation like Arkansas when it comes to an athletic program. Because that's, I mean, if you want to throw women's basketball in there, they're a women's basketball program. But it's the fact that basketball or football is still the king. And the way I see it is, you put all your resources, you got your chicken man for basketball, you got the Hunts for baseball. If you could find that person or persons, it's going to be persons, to do that for your football program, all your secondary programs, like we looked at that, it's of course, estimates and just hearsay, but when you see your women's golf program getting $28 a player, your women's basketball program maybe getting $50 a player from rev share, then you have your AD and ex-head coach thinking naively, and we've asked everybody we've had nationally on this show, are they naive for thinking rev share is going to even the playing field? Yeah, they're like that. So get your cash cows for your big three, and then you use your rev share for the secondary sports, and I think you would be a program that could win at everything.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of piggyback off the point you were making about Tennessee, how many Florida fans do you think are content because they won the Natty in basketball, but they're having to do a coaching search right now in football? That's all they're talking about. I mean, you've got the defending national champs coming in, and they are not a real long shot to repeat. I mean, they've got a legit chance, but all that's being talked about with Florida is, are we going to get Lane? Are we going to get Lane? And that just echoes what you were saying. And selfishly, yes, I'm a basketball first guy, but I guarantee you, when we got to football season, I'm going to get as disgusted at losing football games as I do basketball games, because much to the point that was made earlier, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I just want to win. If we're going to be playing, I want to win.
Yeah. And I think the whole thing with the whole thing, the point is your basketball, baseball, or national championships and the other sports. It's a calendar year, or it's until the next year of sports. And then that's it. That's all the time. You win a national championship in football, it's remembered forever.
Well, this, I'm just going to bring up this comment here. Yes, Arkansas's win-loss record the last 20 years is mediocre at best. The thing is they're not going to change conferences because it's all about money. All the people that talk about, like, oh, go to the Big 12, go to this, go to that, it's never going to happen because there's too much money in it. And I'll say another PSA, and then I'll be done with my PSAs. Probably not. But speaking of basketball in Florida and this and that, I saw quite a bit of comments and poking fun at Boogie Fland's first game of the regular season, having 9 points, going 3 for 9. And I'm just going to say this: Boogie Fland is a hell of a player, and outside of his injury at Arkansas, things didn't go the same way that we want, or the way he wanted it to, or anybody else. And when you bring in the caliber of guards that John Calipari brought in, of course he was going to go elsewhere to get his playing time. But I feel like posting message board material or whatever out there on social media, poking fun at him, talking crap on him, whatever, that's just going to fuel a player when Arkansas travels to Florida in February. That it's one of those things that, you know, we poke fun at him now, but at the same time, when he busts Arkansas's ass in February, I'd watch it a little bit.
You guys remember the name Kevon Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was a 12, 13-point per game player for Florida until it came to Arkansas. And then I think he set a couple different career highs against Arkansas. I mean, just torched us every time that they played. I could see a similar scenario if people keep trashing Boogie. And I don't blame Boogie for leaving. I think the plan all along with Calipari was for Boogie to be here one season. And then, you know, if things go the way everybody anticipated, he was probably going to the draft. But injuries happen. They're part of the game. And he moves on. And he got a good landing spot there in Florida, and he's going to be just fine. I think he, you know, once conference play rolls around, he's going to be a factor on that Florida team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it, you know, it's we can go back to the Malik Monk decision. You know, you can go all the way back to that. That really, I think, sparked the whole Trader thing. You know, whether he was really ever going to go to Arkansas or not, I don't know. But I think in the fact that Nick Smith Jr., you know, there was a lot of about that, and it's they're going to find a way to be mad about something. And I think, you know, Nick Smith Jr., when he left, went to Cali to rehab, and everybody's already pissed off because at this time, you know, NIL and majority of the people were against it. You know, this is fresh. You know, why are they making money? Why they shouldn't be doing this? He's making all this money, and he's going. They are looking for a reason to be mad, and then because you're doing so piss poor in football, we get you're the, I wouldn't say a bully syndrome, but you know your basketball team has your back because they're good this year. So it's easy to go poke fun at, and it happens. We all do it. You know, you're looking at stat sheets. This dude went 4 for 20. You know, it happens, but it's because you're filling your own void right now with your football program that you're latching onto anything positive you can, but yet you're being negative about it. So in all reality, you're not doing any good to yourself. You're looking at something good you want to laugh about, but you're pissed off about it. And in the end, you're going to be pissed off at the end. So we do that as sports fans to ourselves all the time.
Zach and I have talked about this 1,000 times. Basketball and baseball, you know, they come in under the microscope because football has been so terrible recently. You know, we kind of judge those two sports because they are so good with an unfair eye, you know, because they have had, just like when the basketball team caught fire last year after Kentucky, you know, I was very critical up until things turned around. And even after that, I was finding little things like missing free throws or too many turnovers, you know, things that can cost you a game. But in the grand scheme, if you win, what's it matter?
Yeah.
You know, but that's, you know, and we do the same thing with baseball too. When somebody goes into a slump, it's like, okay, what's the deal? You know, I mean, it's just, it's because we're already pissed off when we come into basketball and baseball season because of what football had done. And I understand football is the captain of the ship. It's got to be the captain of the ship, no matter how good basketball is, no matter how good baseball is. Football is that's your money maker, you know, your bowl money, whatever. Arkansas needs to be able to get a piece of the pie because they generated it, not just because we're in the conference and we're sitting at the table. You know, we need more than just that cut that everybody gets just for being there.
Yeah. So it's funny, piggybacking, segueing into my next question, Adam, we can start with you. So when I tell you the name Rhett Lashley and his decision to stay at SMU, do you think it's because, one, the bridge that was burnt with his connection with Gus Malzahn and all that stuff? Or do you think we're talking about pressure? The pressure that he would have to come rebuild this program, being an Arkansas high school great, Arkansas quarterback, playing underneath Gus Malzahn, and the immense pressure of if things go wrong, the bottom falls out.
Yeah.
Do you think that has a lot to do with it?
Yeah, 100%. I think part of it is, we don't know the true numbers because SMU being a private institution, but we know that they raised upwards of $155 million, I believe, a year or so ago, with NIL and things of that nature. Honestly, if I was Rhett Lashley right now, I mean, you started to build this thing down there. I don't blame him if he's wanting to see it through a little bit longer. And there is a big unknown. There's a lot for somebody from this state, especially that has gone to the University of Arkansas, played there to, we've talked about this before. And I mean, I'll say it once again, there's a coach over in the ACC that, his wife is from Fort Smith, Arkansas. He played down the road at UCA. And one of the big things is not wanting to coach at Arkansas because if things go south, they don't feel like they can retire here after it's all said and done. And, these are, in the grand scheme of things, younger families, so they're thinking, 20 years down the road or whatever. That scares a lot of people away. Sam Pittman was in a bit of a different light, being older. Yes, he, bought his lake house and everything. And very likable person, things didn't work out, is what it is. But I don't think there's any ill will towards Sam Pittman, but you have this younger generation. And I think Lashley could be in that mix of thought process of, hey, I want to retire there someday in the state of Arkansas. And if things go south, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Real quick before Marcus answers, I think Sam Pittman was to come put the puzzle back together. If it was Lashley or the coach you're mentioning, it would be automatically he's leading us to the promised land. There's a different level of expectations. Yes, Sam put us back where he found us, but in the essence of he got us to a 9-win season, and I think they should have let him go last year because now look at all the openings. So just real, that was just my thoughts on that. Everybody knew the expectations. Nobody expected Sam Pittman to come in and get this program. And it's almost like that's what they were hoping for. You think Sam keeps this thing on a 6-7 win trajectory and he falls out like Mike Anderson. It just the contentness, and he ran his course, he got to his peak, but still things were left in the position it was. Now you have somebody like a Lashley come in, homegrown kid, leads us to the promised land, and now you're in a college football playoff. I think that would make things better.
So here's my take on Lashley, and this may not be the most popular take, but I've brought this up on our show a few times. In my opinion, if he was not a product of Shiloh Christian, and he was not a product of playing for the Razorbacks, and did not have the ties to Malzahn, would his name even be in this coaching search at all?
No, but I think the same thing could be said about Bobby Petrino.
That 100%,
nostalgia.
100%. Zach and I have
go back to that nostalgia.
Yeah, we have hit the nostalgia thing so many times. It's like this program as a whole, not just football, but the athletic department and the fan base, and I include myself in this too. So I'm not dogging on anybody, but we put way more stock in nostalgia than we should as a fan base as a whole. And we've talked about that countless times. I mean, look no further than how many times the 94 team has been honored in one way or another. And yes, it's a big deal, national championship, but at some point, man, you got to move on, and you got to stop looking in the rearview mirror and look forward. On Lashley, and I'll make this quick. I'm not going to go real in depth here, but I think it's one of those things of, I think he has interest in the job. This is just me talking. I think he has interest in the job, but I also think that there's something to what you're talking about, is that it's too much of a risk right now at this point in his career. If he goes, let's say he's goes for the next 5-6 years, makes the playoffs 3 more times, maybe makes a deep run, gets a new contract, makes his retirement money, and then the job comes open again where he's already got his full credibility established, I think he might roll the dice on it at that point.
Absolutely. And it goes to, me and Adam had touched on this. I think we texted each other about it today. if Lane Kiffin goes to college football playoff and Ole Miss, he's staying there. Just my opinion, because the pinnacle is just get there. And right now it's like, there was talks about James Franklin possibly going to Virginia Tech, and you're going down that rabbit hole of, well, why wouldn't you? Who's to compete with? What legit team is a powerhouse in the ACC anymore? None. There's not a legitimate powerhouse in the ACC anymore. And if they're going to this new 16-team plan where the Big Ten, you're going to have the Big Ten and the SEC fighting for those 4 spots. And then guess what? There's another 8. Well, who's left? So you look at Lashley, and if he's already got him to the college football playoff,
right?
What if you do it again? All right, well, okay. There's my peak. You'll get there, but you'll never have the talent. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying in the mindset. All right, I got to the college football playoff, but I'll never get the talent to win it again. So why not try to go to the Arkansas, come homegrown? You're seasoned as a head coach, and now you can get the talent, you can get the money and the players to get to the college and possibly make a run at it.
And if he waits until the next time this job comes open, hopefully by the grace of God, this program won't be in the ditch like it is right now. It'll be on the highway at least. And then at that point, all he's got to do is just keep it on the road.
Yeah.
And the last little, I guess, I said that I didn't have any more PSAs, but I do. This goes out directly to any collective, and really it's not a shot. I admire what Pigpen Collective is doing. This is more for the university, their failed attempt with Arkansas Edge, that whole ordeal. And, I've talked with a lot of people, text messages and whatnot throughout the week. And Porter and I have texted about this too. And I'm to the point when it comes to NIL that these colleges, these athletic departments, these coaches put a lot of blame on us as fans for not donating enough.
Yes.
Or, it's always like $50 a month, $100 a month. Now you have Pig Collective with, a much more enticing one, $1 a week, or however much you want to do. My issue with it is here you are upping your prices for concessions and for tickets year after year, whether it's to fund some expansion or reseating of Bud Walton Arena or whatever you've gotten going on in Razorback Stadium, which you still don't have a name for yet. And you sit there and then want us to donate $50 a month. Why? Yeah. Why should we as fans be expected to then shell out an additional $20 to $50 per month when you've already raised ticket prices and concessions enough to where the average Arkansas family cannot even afford to go to games anymore?
Exactly.
That's one of my biggest gripes right now.
And the fact is, how much of that money's going to the NIL fund? Hell, he's outsourced everything. I know people say, well, ADs do all. He's outsourcing everything. Hell, I'm surprised he didn't have somebody else call the coach after her first win, or, I'm surprised he didn't have somebody go walk out and scream at the refs for him. It's getting to the point to where I wish he would show passion where passion is needed. Yeah, you want to go out there and make it about you when you're screaming at the refs, or you want to make sure you're in that locker room with a women's basketball program that you didn't want to give no money to.
Right.
You ran off all the players, you ran off your coach. And, if people really knew the insides of that women's basketball program and what went on, and you had 4 All-Americans, but when they're being talked to every single week about going to LSU, South Carolina, or Mississippi State, and they're promised money when you can't give them money. And if you're a head coach, you're like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And then you wonder why everybody's gone. You caught lightning in a bottle pre-NIL with Chelsea Dungy, and it took 40 points a game to get them to the point where they got.
Yep.
So it's almost the point where I think he's living on borrowed time. I go back to Baz, when he is advocating in his face.
Yeah. Kevin
and
Scanlon.
with the SEC commissioner right there next to him.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry. We've been calling it for a year, and I was so glad to see him. I actually want him to come on the show and talk about that. You're looking Greg Sankey in the eyes like, I want Scanlon to come do it. But what we'll do, get caught up, I want to take a quick 30-second break to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll dive back into that of what's next for Arkansas and who can bring Arkansas out of the ditch. And we'll be right back after a 30-second break. Looking to enhance your home's curb appeal? Look no further than Vision Exteriors. As your trusted roofing, siding, and exterior experts, we're here to transform your property. Our skilled team ensures your job is not only functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. Along with roofing, we also offer window, gutter, and siding installation to boost your home's appearance with our quality options. Visit us at www.visionexteriors.com or call us at 479-397-4770. Let's make your vision a reality. And welcome back to the Hawg Talk Podcast. Again, we're joined by Marcus Carlton from Inside the Hog Pen. And before we knew, because this segment could bring us into the end of the show, so I want to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. But, when you have the sounding board for your university calling for another athletic director, appointing one or giving his recommendation with the SEC commissioner, Marcus, what was your thoughts? Because there was a lot of clips they put up. They tried to hide that part of it, but it got out and people started paying attention to it. And then we'll go to Adam. What was your thoughts when you seen that?
A little bit of shock, honestly, because Baz has always been one of those guys that's always one of the last ones to turn. And when he just blatantly brought out the flamethrower and in front of Greg Sankey and was just basically saying, hey, see this guy right over here? Maybe someday we can see him as an AD, wink, wink, and throwing that out there. I mean, I was a little bit surprised, but at the same time, it was a little bit of relief because I'm like, okay, finally, somebody else sees what the common fan is seeing. This guy, and one thing on Hunter Yurchek and the whole, what was it? He wanted, like, if every family could do like $100 a month or whatever. Well, what has he done to prove to, like, me, the common fan, okay, family of four, have to go cross state to go to games? What has he done to prove to me that he's going to spend that money wisely? Why should I give him money based on the history of his decision making? I mean, and that's what my big beef is with him. But to see Baz do that, I was like, okay, we may finally get somewhere now.
Yeah, it's something that we've heard a lot over the last few years from former players that have graced the presence of all of our respective shows at different points in time, but they don't necessarily have the voice or the pull that David Basel has.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have, the following, if you will, when it comes to that. So it was definitely refreshing to see. And, even though Basil's, his claim to fame for me is not knowing who I was when I was brought up on his show one day, but we'll get that another time. Pettiness at its best.
Yeah. There you go.
It's one of those things though that, it was refreshing to see. And I think it was kind of a, hey, it's nut up or shut up time.
Mm-hmm.
And something's got to change. We're kind of dancing around this, oh, we can't change the coach and the AD at the same time. We can't this, we can't that. You know what? Who cares at this point? I feel like all that Hunter Yurchek has done since he's been here has been to build his resume.
Yeah.
Because that, hey, hiring John Calipari is going to be right there up towards the top, even though we know that was John Tyson's doing. But all that it's ever been really, I feel like a lot of it's been like, what's the bottom line for Hunter Yurchek? As in, how much money did we make this year? Are we in the black? Being one of the top 20 schools or athletic departments in the country when it comes to revenue, where we're at in the Directors Cup, things of that nature, when we're all sitting here like, yeah, that's good, that's great, but who won that football national championship last year?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I
don't give a damn about the Directors Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say, who pays attention to the Directors Cup? People that suck at football.
Yeah,
that's who the Directors Cup is important.
And you're never going to win it because you got these Pac-12 schools that play croquet and freaking water polo. You're never going to win it because it's almost like the Razorback raffle. You're never going to win it. It's gonna, it's one of those things you could sit there and say, well, we did this, or we're overall. But if your motto is one Razorback, but you're leaving out the biggest piece of the puzzle. And so what this leads me to my next question, Adam, we'll start with you. The name Kevin Scanlon. Why has nobody hardly even brought his name up? Everybody's so stuck on Houston Nutt. And we're talking about moving games away from Little Rock and not bringing Central Arkansas into this. You bridge the gap. You bring a guy from Central Arkansas with all that money tied into, because every time it's either Houston Nutt or we're going to get Walmart, Tyson Hunt. We're going to get the Northwest Arkansas money. We're going to get a Northwest Arkansas AD. Why not bring in Scanlon to tie in that bridge of now you're having Central Arkansas money. You're going to get people in Central Arkansas who are invested in this program that knows, all right, we're done with Little Rock Campus. How can we make this better for us to make it worth the drive to Fayetteville every single weekend to watch the Razorbacks play? And who do you want? Who's one of the wealthiest people in the state of Arkansas running your football program when it is more and more of a business? So, Adam, what is your thoughts if they do? I mean, I guess we'll tease it because I know the answer is going to be yes for both. Is do they need to get rid of Hunter Yurachek, and would he be a perfect option for it?
Let's see. If I'd known that was where the question was going, I would have had this shirt ready for my shameless plug. Well, as I'm sitting here bantering for a second, so yes, we all know where I'm at with Hunter Yurachek. As a matter of fact, if y'all would like to go, you can look at this shirt here at T Public. I've already got Hunter Yurachek's name crossed off there for you.
That's awesome.
So
please don't strike it down. We didn't use we use different fonts, different colors. If we use the cardinal red and the strikeouts, please let us have that.
It's not cardinal red because I made sure that slightly change it from their code 9D2235, which is actually that color code for cardinal red. I didn't use that one. So anyway, I think it's one of those things that with Houston Nutt, and we see that name thrown out there a lot, we go back to the nostalgia. We go back to him still being the rah-rah for the University of Arkansas. Mm-hmm. I mean, Porter, 2 years ago? Has it been that long yet? We had him on our show.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things, you and I both afterwards, we were just sitting there, it was just like, I want to run through a freaking brick wall right now. And that's how he makes everybody feel. And you and I have talked about, and others have too, like, pay him to be the ambassador and spokesperson for this athletic department, for this university. Yes. He doesn't have to be the athletic director. Let him take pictures, shake hands, give speeches, pay him to do so. And then I think it's one of those things with Scanlon. It's somebody that nobody probably, or I say nobody, a lot of folks didn't necessarily think about just because of the realm of industry that he's in right now. It was one of those, we're all thinking former coaches, former current athletic directors. We're not thinking the executive vice president for Stephen. We're not going that route. And I think that if this does come to fruition, you're clearly seeing the writing on the wall that Arkansas has realized, like, we've got to go this money route. We've got to go this business route, because going the way that we've been going, getting these former or current athletic directors or former coaches, like it's not working out for us because we resort back to nostalgia so much. And that's one thing that you can look at a coach like Coach Calipari. You could even go to Eric Musselman that, hey, guess what? You're getting a top player in a state if they work with and go with what you're building. But just because you're the top player in the state doesn't automatically give you like that stepping stone to the University of Arkansas. So I think getting somebody that isn't a former coach like Houston Nutt gives you a broader horizon than just the state of Arkansas to be able to help grow your program. So getting somebody like Scanlon, I think Scanlon sees a broader picture than just keeping it within the state of Arkansas.
Get out of my head. I mean, it's like you guys are completely in my head with this, because to me, Scanlon is the unicorn.
Mhm.
He's the former Razorback. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that name. 1979 SWC Player of the Year as quarterback, successful quarterback, played for Lou Holtz. So, what's the one thing we always hear about when we start talking about a new AD? We need somebody in there that knows what it means to be a Razorback. Okay,
Yeah.
he checks that box. He's got the financial experience, obviously, with what he's done in his current role. He's also currently involved with the Razorback Foundation, so he's in touch with today's fan, not just those that live off the nostalgia of when he played. I'm all in for Scanlon as far as the AD goes. Now, I will say this: I understand the want for Houston Nutt, but this whole AD thing has changed from being a former coach and knowing, and being a Razorback, and to use one of Houston's quotes, to love that helmet. It's more than that now. You got to have the financial backing just because of the way things have changed with rev share, NIL, and all that. To me, that's Scanlon. Where I think Houston Nutt comes into the mix is you put him on staff and you bring back these Razorback Club meetings that Hunter Yurachek has taken away. You put those back out there. You have Nutt go do the circuit around the state and go and like the tent revival. You go back to what he was known when he was coaching, the Right Reverend. You put the Right Reverend out there on the tent revival circuit and get him to pass the offering plate, because there's one thing about him that he always talked about how much he admired Coach Broyles as his coach and also as AD. The one thing Frank Broyles did was he took the common fan who could maybe only donate $200 a year to the Razorback Foundation, and he made them feel as important as somebody that donated $20,000 a year. And that's what's missing. That's what's missing right now. And I think you put Houston Nutt in that role, and you have Scanlon as your AD, because I think Kevin Scanlon at Arkansas could do for Arkansas athletics what Keith Carter has done for Ole Miss athletics.
And another thing, and you're talking about money. Well, where's the money going? He'd be transparent. He knows how to run a business. Budget cuts. He know how to budget cut. And you know what the first thing, and I can't take full credit because this is not the first place I heard it. His name was on my mind of what the hell is their job, Remy Cofield, but I didn't hear it. Wrestling and Zach show, I heard it today. They're like, you get rid of him. What's he done? $400,000. You take his salary, you give $100,000 each to Houston Nutt, and you bring Kevin Trainer back.
Yes,
you're saving $200,000. Well, there's your defensive lineman or whatever. He would know how to budget cut. But it's the thing is, what are these people doing? And it's all, to me now that, and this is where I do love social media in an aspect, because nothing can be hidden anymore. The Wizard of Oz, the curtains pull back, because where would we be with this blueprint, this raffle, this everything that's gone on that's failed, and me and Adam's done the whole, we pointed it out, and about the first time we seen a winner, we're like, hold on, it's not checking out. And then the next one, now they don't even put the name on there. So it's the thing is, Remy hasn't said anything, and I'm in sales, and every day I'm having sales of, I've got to say what I'm doing that day. Every week, what have you done this week to generate revenue? Where is he at with his GM? So you bring in a guy like Scanlon, you can do away with his position completely, because he could be your GM and AD all in one. And what is he even doing? What players is he bringing in? What agents is he talking to? Where's the NIL that he's supposed to be bringing in? Because apparently with him, we're not supposed to have an NIL problem. That's what his job is. And you can't even run a collective. You can't keep people on. I mean, you were the first, and you're the first to lose it. So I think that would be a huge. I just wonder how hot Hunter Yurachek thinks his seat is right now.
I don't think he thinks there's any heat on it, because I think he's so arrogant, for lack of a better term, that he thinks the problem is not him. The problem is everything around him. I think that he just doesn't see it as clearly as what everybody else sees. That's just my gut feeling on it.
Well, and I've said too that I feel like that he has been biding his time a little bit. Whether he's interviewed for other jobs, applied for other jobs. I think it's one of those things that those haven't came to fruition, but there's talk of a permanent playoff committee
I
moving
think that's
forward
where he lands.
of when it expands to 16 teams, and that won't be the rotational thing like we've seen. And I personally think that he's waiting for something like that, a permanent position that he doesn't have to worry about one particular school, because he isn't a fundraiser. He isn't a cheerleader. He isn't all these things that an athletic director has to be now. And it's one of those that if you want to go, but just stop wasting everybody's time. And like I saw in the comments, it was, why do we think that this next hire?
Let's bring that up. It's a real good question, but I think we can.
Why are people acting like if they don't get this hire right, we will never recover? So in the past after 2012, when have we recovered? Yeah. Here we are 13 years later. It's one of those things that, do we consider a 9-win season recovering completely? So 2021, an 8-win Bielema season, that's recovering. I don't feel like that's recovering.
No,
because this is a vicious cycle that happens every 4 to 5 years. And I'm kind of on the boat with, and like I told Porter one show, I forgot who it was and I should have looked it up, but we've heard from one of our former guests. It was either Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered, or it was Jacob Crane from Crane & Co. One of them. But they said, if you're not sniffing the playoffs once every 3 years, you don't have to make them. But if you're not in that conversation of the playoff once every 3 years, shouldn't be a head coach. You should move on from that head coach. And I agree that if you can't be in the conversation of potentially making the playoffs, you failed for that season. And so you go 3 years of that, you need to move forward. These coaches need to be on 3-year contracts. 100%. We give all these ridiculous buyouts and these massive contracts that don't have much incentive basing in them. And, I'm sick of it. And I blame the athletic. I mean, you can blame LSU's athletic director for 2 of the biggest buyouts in college football history. It's one of those things that the reason why I don't think that we'll recover if we don't make this hire right is history. It's been proven time and time again.
I'm going to bring up history. While y'all are talking, I was looking back at history. And you are going to be set back to the 40s and the 50s if you keep going down this road. Because you're looking right here, 4, 6, 6, 5, maybe an 8, 5, 2, 5, 5. Where's a 10? Where's a 9? There's 1 9 with Sam Pittman. Now you have to go back to the 50s before you see stretches like we've seen, because in the 60s won a national championship. The 70s, you went to the Orange Bowl. You're having 10-win seasons. In the 80s, you had Quinn Grovey. In the 80s, and Barry Foster.
That's 90s. Your last conference championship is in the 80s.
So, you're looking at what could this mean for the landscape of why this is important, because you're setting yourself back 70 years.
Yeah.
If you don't do this. And that's because in the grand scheme, if you don't get this right, everybody else is caught up to you and past you. You are the last team in the SEC.
Yeah.
If you get this right, you could rebuild this thing in 3 years. You could be in the college football playoff conversation. And then you build from that. But that's why this is so important. I was thinking, okay, this is going to go back to the Jack Crow area. Well, that was a 2-year span, and then you brought in Houston Nutt. You have to go back to the 40s, 50s, to where you're like, you were continuously bad until you got to that championship caliber team in the 60s.
You have to go pre-Frank Broyles.
Yeah.
Is how far back you have to go. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and seeing it right there in front of me, I mean, I don't have a good poker face anyway, but I'm sure my jaw dropped when I was looking at that. I mean, it's that bad. And I mean, you're talking about, and things are so much different now than it was in that 40s and 50s era. The game moves, everything moves so much faster. It's more of a business now. You won't recover. You will become what Vanderbilt has traditionally been to the SEC, because they have blown your doors off now. and a program that you are traditionally kind of a sister program to in Ole Miss in football. They're so far out in front, you can't even smell their exhaust right now.
Yeah. Well, and for visual, I'll bring it back up. Just this is the state we're in right now since Bobby Petrino left. So when you see 4, 3, 7, 8, 7, 6, 2, 2, 3, 9, 7, 4, 7, 2, you're in that boat of, you're not going to make a bowl game. And I think another thing that we've said, but yet, I mean, it's just regurgitating is there's 9 SEC games next year. There's a 16-team playoff on the horizon. NIL is going to keep getting more. Coaches are going to want to demand more. Get it while the market is low as you can get, because go try to get Rhett Lashley at $10 million in 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this was we said this before going into the season. We said this at the end of last season that we knew that the 9-game SEC slate was coming. We all did. It was just a matter of when. And that this season, you needed this season to be good to set you up for that 9-game slate. And what did you do? You bottomed out and you have set yourself back. So now you're scrambling, you're looking for a head coach, you're scrambling for a head coach, somebody that can take you into now that 9-game SEC season. So it's one of those that, it's do or die time. And I think that if you don't do this right now, you basically just need to admit defeat and put all of your energy into your other sports.
Sometimes a warrior just needs to lay down and have a good bleed.
A
good bleed. It's just, it goes, but Derek Simpkins makes a good point. I go to work tomorrow and tell my leadership I set someone up, I trained them, but didn't give them the tools. They get fired. I'd expect to lose my job on the spot. And then he brings up, is it safe to say that we were better off than where we were when Pittman got here, but one bad hire away from being as bad? I think we're there. I think we're worse than, because we're left with so many questions. And to me, it's not just the 2-10. It's not the over in the SEC. You have to look at where this football program is. We don't know. All right, our athletic director's job's not safe. You don't have a name for your stadium. You don't have an NIL collective. You won't have a quarterback next year. Then you want to go into the roster of things.
Right.
Who's going to be your quarterback next year? Who's going to be your coordinators? So guess what? This is the best time to do it. Bulldoze the program. Bulldoze it. Bring in a new athletic director, a new head coach, a new collective, a new raffle. Let's screw this Razorback raffle. Let's go in there and draw up a new plan where Saracen can do it and say, screw it. We're not, I feel like I'm Ricky Gervais at the Oscars. Like, we don't care anymore. Like, we're going to say how we really feel. And I don't care. Everybody gets judged about, well, you got to say the right things, or you don't know the information. We've all been Razorback fans or followers for 40 years.
Yeah.
We've got enough tenure. It's almost like you don't have the degree, but I've got the experience of seeing this program suck for the last 15 years. I feel like we can all say something. And that's where we are. We don't care who we offend or piss off, because all it's really gotten us is the Charlie Brown meme with, hey, we're going to be good this year. You got the morning show. They're still, are they really going to judge Petrino off of how he does in his interim pack? I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they need to start marveling at the job that Petrino's doing. Maybe that will do it. I don't know, but it's just, we're getting at the time of propaganda and stuff, and it's
the mantra of stupid people.
Exactly. and it's to the point where it gets to the point where it's ridiculous, and they laugh at you. They think they're better than you. They can act like, and they can say on their radio airwaves, we're not better, but the way you do it in a condescending tone, and you talk down to the fans, you act like you're better than everybody. And that's what I hate about them. And I don't use that word lightly, but it's just, you're supposed to be the biggest sounding board in the state. Why can't we tell it how it is? Why? because you're going to spend 8 months of trying to sunshine pump. And then guess what? Your head coach is gone. Your AD's gone. You just lied to us for 8 years. So where are we going with this?
On the whole year, I'm sorry, this just sparked something with me. And I've talked about this with friends and on our show and stuff, but we should not be here right now, guys. We should be in year 2 of a rebuild, because Sam never should have survived the 4-8 season of 2023. He should have been let go at that point, because at that point, I think you still had the program still had a little bit of credibility. I think you could have went out and got, it might have been a bit of a risk of a hire, but you could have gotten someone a lot easier at that point than what you're going to do this year, because there were not that many jobs open in 2023. And I'll go a step further. After the Liberty Bowl last year, Sam could have rode off into the sunset and, just walked away and said, hey, guys, I'm done. I feel like I've got us back to a point where we're at least going to a bowl game and winning. And then you could have had, the candidates that are there this year, a lot of those were there last year, but there were not the ensemble of openings that there is this year. And Arkansas would have been one of the higher ranked openings last year, to where now, what are we setting 7th, 8th on the pecking order at best?
Look, I do want to ask a quick question, because you brought the mantra of stupid people and the mediocrity, but it really brought up a point, because I've seen other programs do it. If you're not settling for mediocrity, why are you giving coaches an extension off of, or not firing them because they had one good win?
Yeah.
Tommy Bowden at Clemson, if he would beat his dad, that kept his job.
Yep.
At Clemson, he finally couldn't do it, and then they got Dabo. Look at Gus Malzahn. He would have been the Arkansas head coach, I believe. But what did he do? He beat Alabama that year. It's these one wins. It's this. You're not settling for being great. You're settling for just getting enough to get by. That's being mediocre. Right there.
Speaking of,
live with it,
love it, deal with it.
We're just running as, hey, you know what? Forget Black Friday. We're having Tea Friday. Tomorrow, all of our shirts are going to be a discounted rate of $25 or something, but but it just brought up that spark in my head, because Brett Bielema beat Texas, got his extension. Beat a mediocre,
horrible Texas team.
Exactly. So that's why I think they need a complete rebuild, because
that's what got Sam another extension too, was beating
Penn State.
Yeah, beating Penn State. And then when Texas came to Fayetteville that last time before they joined the conference and just curb stomped them.
Yeah.
I mean, that again, it goes back to the whole nostalgia thing, because how many people in the fan base, if you just beat Texas, I'm good, and that's what happened. And, here we are.
Well, then you have this question. If memory serves me right, firing Pittman then would mean, would we have Kendall Browse at the Catfish Hole this week?
If he was still here at that point in time.
But I think it would have been, they would have gave Bobby Petrino the head coaching job. I mean, that's the thing. When they brought him in last year as the OC, this was, if we're going to give Bobby, that's another thing that really alarms me or confuses me. If you're really going to give Bobby Petrino a fair shake, why didn't you give him a full season or a full off season? Why did you sit there and wait for a bye week after a Notre Dame game? And, we're going to do this. And part of that, I think it's the fault of the sunshine propaganda. They want to believe that, hey, this team's going to be better. I've had people tell me preseason, man, this O-line's going to be top 5. We're going to be good. We're going to be great. T. Will's got everything going. What was the first thing to fall? Was the defense.
Right. The same morning show that made the comment of the mantra of stupid people also made the comment about, well, what if this team wins 9 games this year?
Oh, they said it. They on record
multiple times. Kool-Aid Corner. I remember the exact soundbite.
And he clapped at the mic. We had that clip. But I know we're running long. We got on a little tangent, but Adam.
Oh, I was looking for something right quick.
Good.
It was, I've always got something. I've just got to find it real quick. But it was going back to that 9-game, those 9-game comments, because we all kind of got. I say we all. We got kind of some folks mad in their feels a little bit when we put out like our 5-7 prediction for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go back to the video after we put that out. You know, this says them. We're winning 9 games this season. Me. Oh, let's play it first.
They struck it down.
They struck it down. Hey, but you know what? I got a go-to on there.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
I've got a button for it.
Yeah.
No, you're not. And it's just one of those things. And it was like, we want this team to be good. And I think people get this idea in their head that when we put out these predictions of Arkansas losing, that we're somehow like against this team or against this program.
Yeah.
And it's not that. We want this team to win. And sometimes are we overly critical? 100%. But at the same time, it's because we keep being fed every offseason how much better we're going to be, or who ran 22 miles an hour.
How they're going, yes.
Yeah, or, oh, hey, guess what? We actually started tackling early. I mean, this last offseason, we heard I don't know how many times about the tackling in fall camp. What's one thing that we cannot do to save our lives this year? And it's tackling.
Yeah.
So I'm just tired of the Kool-Aid that comes out from.
They must have tied their arms, because you seen that one guy try to dive at that defender.
Oh
and
my
he's
God.
It's just, I'm just over it.
He flopped around.
Well, and the whole thing, being overly critical, because I've been torched on social media for some of my takes, and they're like, well, you're just not a real fan. Okay, look behind me. If I didn't care, do you think I'd be spending all my time complaining and pissing and moaning about how awful things are if I didn't care? I get mad and I let it affect my personality because I care so much. I care too much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and those so-called real fans that write articles, they sit on the fence, and depending on if it's raining or sunshine, and that's what they put out.
Yeah.
And that they will put out, this is one entity, they'll put out 20 articles a day about, they'll put a whole article out on about a SEC short video, or, hey, we seen this name, here's an article of why. And then it's all it is quotes from a press conference.
Right.
So that's what you're talking about, your real fans, what they do. That's what they do. And it's the point. We need people on the radio we trust. We need writers that we trust, which we have. And those are the ones that I feel we trust. They're the ones that get scalded the most. The true pioneers of the podcasters that came before us, and the ones that have been the fans, and they try to tell it how it is, and they can't get credentials themselves. They're the ones that tell the truth because they've lived it. They're not sunshine pumpers. They tell it how it is.
Yep.
And that's what we need. But there's a lot of people who don't want it. They want to hide it because they think it scares the money. You putting out a shit product keeps the money and the recruits from coming, not us.
Yeah, exactly. It's not me mouthing on social media about how terrible things are that keep recruits away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but again, like we said, we're the ones that are wrong, but your head of the program admitted he set his head coach up for failure.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, we'll wrap it up on this. Just final thoughts. What do you best case? All right, if you could have it anyway, we'll not do a best case, worst case. We'll do Marcus. You can go first. Best case scenario. How do you see this thing playing out going into the next season?
Golly, I can't wipe away the fact that I don't trust the decision makers, honestly. But if you had
perfect world, you trusted the people who are making the decisions. And
perfect world, you're getting Kevin Scanlon as your AD. Football coach, honestly, I could go several different ways. I'm okay with Franklin. I'm okay with Golish. I would just from the PR perspective, and I could do a whole podcast on this from the PR perspective, and y'all are going to fall out when I say this. I wouldn't hate Gruden just from the PR perspective that it would bring. It would be similar to what Dion brought to a dead Colorado program. Now, do I think he could win? I don't know. It depends on the kind of staff he could put together. And he's not at the top of my list. But I mean, I think there's worse options out there too.
100%. Perfect world. I'm on the boat after after Baz name dropping Scanlon. It's like do or die for me when it comes to that. Head coaching wise, I mean, since it seems like there's more, the days go by that there's a little bit more steam behind it. I've jumped on board with James Franklin. I think that if you strike out or whatever, however you want to word that, if he doesn't end up here, I am for going after an up and comer coach because we don't typically do it. And so I think that is Alex Skolish. It's one of those things that I don't know when Franklin's name, even before it was really tied to anything, it was just after he was let go from Penn State. There's a lot of folks that have kind of hated on him and his resume. Can't win the big games. Can't this, can't that. And I'm just looking at it like this is a guy that back-to-back 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt before NIL and transfer portal. This is a guy who's consistently in the top 10. This is a guy who's been to the playoff. I mean, you start running this, and I just look at Arkansas and where we've been for the past 20 years, and I'm just like, why are we hating on this when this is what we've been for so long? And so it's one of those I would embrace it. I would love to have Keegan Michael Pill come run out and act like James Franklin and get the PR from that standpoint. And I get, I'm against the John Gruden thing, but I can still see why it would, one aspect that it would work, which would be the PR side of it, the popularity of him and things of that nature. So it would work out in some aspects.
Can I add one addendum to my point on Gruden? I am of the opinion that if you're going to have to take a risk on a hire, why not take the risk that's going to bring all the publicity with him, the Barstool, the John Daly, the NFL, all the NFL contacts that he has. I think you'd see guys coming in here like what Dion had with all the special guests and stuff he had at Colorado. I think there's a lot of similarities as to what Gruden could bring to this program from a PR perspective. Now, if he doesn't win, it's Belichick 2.0. But if he does win, what happens then? And then I'm done.
Because I think you have to treat football differently than basketball.
100%. Yes.
And this is because in football, you have to be locked in. You're going out there to hit people. PR is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying bring in a fuddy-duddy, but I think you have to look at this Saban mentality of when it's time to lock in, it's time to lock in. I think if you bring in the total social media aspect, you're going to have the circus like you have now at Colorado. It was fun for a year, but now look at the shambles they're in. And I might be, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I think it's easier that you can go out there on a basketball court, run your offense and really shoot and hone in on your game and still be productive. I think with football, you're having to focus because what offense are they in? Motion, reading the play. I mean, really studying. You really have to study the game and study the film. If I could have any way, of course, yes, Hunter's gone, bring in Scanlon because again, he was like a dark horse that you don't think about. Then when he comes to light, you're like, it's like that hire out of left field when we got with Muss and we got with Bielema and all them. He's the guy out of left field you didn't even think about. And then when he comes to light, you're like, well, that's Houston Nutt on steroids.
Yep.
Head coach Lane Kiffin.
Oh, I'm a big Lane guy, man. I love me some Lane Kiffin.
He has been at Ole Miss for 6 years, right? Now, if he goes to the CFP this year with Ole Miss, I think that be out of the question, and we probably still have no shot of getting him. But I've got a dog that when I first got him, rambunctious, twirl and now he's older and he's calmed down. And me and Adams talked on the show. He had a chip on his shoulder when he went to Ole Miss, and he had 100%. A point to prove. And I think now if he gets to that point, even if he gets to the college football playoff, he's proven that he's done it. All right, now let's lock in and go win somewhere. Yeah. So I think if the stars aligned and everything worked out and he did come to Arkansas, I think he would be what we thought we was going to get with Bobby Petrino, calmer, but would have the success.
Yeah.
You're not bringing in a 56-year-old guy to promise you 10, 11 wins again. You're bringing in a guy, high-powered offense that still has some years left in him, that knows how to recruit, get it. And that's just, if I could have the perfect world, that's where I would go with it.
I would love it. I mean, the guys give me crap all the time and say I'm a closet Ole Miss fan because I'm such a huge Lane Kiffin guy. And when he was allegedly in the mix for this job, I don't know whether he was or not, I'm surprised he didn't block me on Twitter because I was tweeting him almost every day. Come to the UAF, come to the UAF, because his whole tagline when he was at Florida Atlantic was, come to the FAU. Yeah. And I mean, I was hitting him up every day with it.
Everybody knows I love his trolling. So
that's perfect.
About the PR, he brings in his own little PR, and he's petty. I mean, y'all would get along great. But I know, again, we went a little longer on this special episode tonight, and Marcus, I really want to thank you for coming on tonight and discussing this. And if you haven't missed if you have missed what we talked about, rewatch it. We're live, but that's going to do it. Any final thoughts, mentions before we head out?
Thank God for basketball season.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, that will do it for this special episode of the Hawg Talk podcast presented to you by Vision Exteriors. I want to thank Marcus Carlton of Inside the Hog Pen for joining us tonight, and we will catch you on Sunday.